Welcome back. If you listen to our show, I got a 1.5-year-old, and one day he's going to go to college, and we had a nice little Father's Day over the weekend. And when you start thinking about college, I think most parents think, oh, expensive, and hopefully worth it. And Jared Fraser joins us with over a decade of experience in the real estate and property management industry, but more importantly, truly has become one of the city's experts on student housing and this kiddie condo concept. Welcome back.
Hey, glad to be here.
And did I hear that you may be a father here sometime soon?
Yeah, I guess you could say I just celebrated my first Father's Day. He's still growing, or it's still growing. Don't know, boy or girl yet.
That's pretty exciting. Now the world, I hope you told your parents.
I did now.
Good.
No, they know. They found out on Mother's Day.
They did. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad I didn't just do something really bad.
No, don't worry about it.
Good. I figured I wasn't like the first phone call.
No, you're like 7.
That's pretty good.
Well, Jared, let's chat a little bit about the student housing because, hey, in about 18 and a half years, your child may be going to school, and it's expensive.
It is.
And a lot of people's kids are trying to go to school because, you look at the unemployment rate for college-educated kids, it's massively lower. Let's talk a little bit about just the University of Washington in general, since that's pretty much our local college here.
Well, there's a great rental market for college students and for student housing. And if we focus on the U, you can take in how much it costs to go stay at the dorms for a year. And those costs range, between $6,000 to $9,000 a year. And that doesn't even include food. There's no, in the dorm rooms, there's no appliances so then to cook. So there's also a food allowance that you have to pay for, which is another couple $1,000s a year. Basically, it's a lot of money. So we're trying to see if we could use, or have been doing this, to use that money elsewhere. And by purchasing a house, the student and the parent purchase a house with owner-occupied rates, so that'd be 3.5% down and better interest rates. They can actually use that same money, buy a place, live in it while they're going to campus, and that's usually 3 to 6 years for a student. And then
6 years.
Well, there's longer.
Okay.
Or they live in the area. They don't tend to always go home right away. And you can then sell the property and use those gains to pay off your housing costs, to pay off other student loans. Basically, hopefully, the idea would be to live there and not have to pay for housing costs. Save that $10,000-$15,000 a year and actually turn it into an investment.
So let's you talk about saving money in the dorms, but this also has to do with, essentially buying a house and having their friends live there in some ways, right?
Yes, and if you take it that road and they buy a 3-bedroom, they can buy any size house, but a 3-bedroom all the way up to a 4-plex type of property, they can also rent out to their friends and fellow classmates and actually turn this into an income-producing property while living there, usually making money while you're living there. So you've come up with your down payment, you put that down, and then you're making your mortgage payment with your roommates paying rent. And then this turns into a cash flow opportunity to cut down on your housing and college expenses, and then do the same thing. If you either keep it as a long-term rental when you move out or sell the property, take those gains and pay off your college loans.
Well, yeah, and so now, essentially, as I said, before the break, you've almost found a way to now capture a little bit of money and benefit financially from your child going to college.
Yes, this is a great investment for the family because usually college is a family expense. And yeah, you can recapture those expenses. You can take, you'll never get tuition back directly. You'll get it indirectly through jobs. But housing has always been something that you'll never receive back. Now you can. Now you can actually take these, these properties, buy them, have your student live in them, and regain some of those costs, if not more, and if not make more money on top of it.
So not only can you regain money on a monthly basis, but if real estate goes up in value.
Yeah, you are taking advantage of the market, and now is a fantastic time. We're near bottom, so things are starting to tick up. And give it that 3 to 5, 6 years, and then you resell the property. There should be an increase in equity in the property. You've also been paying down the loan for a few years. You might not make tons of money, but you will make a big chunk back to go towards your college expenses.
Plus, your kid can live in the master bedroom, which is way cooler.
Oh yeah, it's always the best thing, the master bedroom.
So let's just backtrack a little bit because I think this is really important stuff. Your child goes to school. and it's expensive. But you have these huge costs of living in the dorms, of food that are, I mean, they're going to happen whether the child, whether your student pays for them or you do. And this has a way of really minimizing those costs by offsetting with a kitchen, I guess, so they can cook food. They're going to order pizza. Let's be honest, Jared.
Yeah, well, and this is, and that's not, we're just looking at the UW dorm rates. When you get out of the U, because eventually you can't stay in the dorm forever. They do kind of shuffle you out when the new kids come in. The average room rate in the U district is around $600 a month. So if you're renting those, instead of paying that, you could then just rent it to your friends at that rate and pay off your mortgage that way. And if you don't get your whole mortgage payment paid, you're not paying that much money. Your out-of-pocket expenses could be in the couple $100s a month instead of the $600 a month, if not gaining more, being more cash flow positive if you have a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom house where you actually have more rent coming in to pay off that larger mortgage payment.
Because it's really a bedroom game at this point in time. I mean, I know when I lived in college, we weren't really concerned about you just need a place.
Yes. Yeah, and it's
mattress on the floor, a desk with a computer.
When we price out student housing, what I've been doing for years, it's per bedroom. It's not per square footage. Obviously, a little bit bigger house will get more money, but they want to know how many kids we can get in the house. And I mean, in the U district, we have houses that go up to 15 kids. The average, I would say, is around 7. Is where you'll find the average good size house in that area. But there's tons of other options out there where it could be a 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom, 5. And you just rent out those other rooms to your fellow students and charge them rent.
We're here with Jared Fraser with Keller Williams talking about helping essentially cover the cost of college through real estate. And is this a trend that maybe, do you see it happening a lot? Or is it, I know you kind of came from you sowed your roots, I guess, in Bellingham.
Yes.
And that was is that common up there and less common down here?
College investing in student housing is common up there, is common down here.
Everywhere.
It's common everywhere, but usually only on the investor side, where you're just buying a house. You're not doing an owner-occupied loan. You're not doing owner-occupied rates and everything. This is it's a newer program, but not that new, and people are starting to take advantage of it. It's something that once explained and looked at as a long-term projection, they actually can see the benefits of maybe putting up a little bit money up front, but the long-term gains are substantial when it comes to how expensive college is and living around campus can be. And when you take all that into consideration, most people go for it.
Well, and I guess, you can start, I guess if you're working with you or a financial planner, even at some levels, you start looking at, what are my costs and what will the house need to appreciate in order to start covering some of those?
Yeah, and honestly, some people have actually been keeping these properties. The kid moves out after a few years, and you can keep these properties for forever at these great rates that you first bought them at, and they're turning them into long-term rental properties. So it's a great investment opportunity, like I said, for the family. It's a great way for the new student, because he is on the loan, or he or she is on the loan, to build their credit, because they also get the benefits and the tax benefits that they can get. And that's another way to recapture some of those expenses, because now you have, instead of paying rent, which you never get back, you now have some interest that you're paying on your loan, and you get the tax benefits from those.
Do you see a lot of people buying maybe the smaller houses and turning them into bigger houses? I mean, I know that's something you've consulted on in the past.
That is common, where we're looking for a certain, like for just the investor, we have picked up, like a 3-bedroom house with unfinished basements, turned them into 5, 6, 7-bedroom houses, finished them. That is usually a better way to go to get the higher rents, but it does require a little bit more cash up front, because you have to be able to pay the contractor to do the work. So you can't put everything into the loan on those ones. But there's people out there buying 6-bedroom houses as 6-bedroom houses and renting them out as 6-bedroom houses. But the better deals,
a lot of college kids living in your house.
It is, and people get kind of turned off by student housing, but I've had great success with it, and it's when you're going to be busy. It's the same times every year. It's very easy to schedule around, and honestly, I've never had a trashed house. It's never been a case of mine.
So when are people busy then? I mean, is it just that transition from spring?
If you pre-lease, then early spring, that you're showing the property and getting it signed and leased, and then when they move out, you have a few days to move the property out and to get everything cleaned up, and then you're moving everybody in. So it's usually early spring and end of August is usually when you're busy. Beyond that, everybody's in school, and you're not having to worry about getting your place rented.
Which sound, I mean, and I guess you're diversified a little bit because you have 6, essentially, if it's a 6-bedroom, you have 6 different entities, right? It's not one person's job that is paying your rent.
True. Yeah. I've never had all 6 not pay. I've never had that. It's maybe one doesn't pay, but they all are equally responsible. So it does, lower your risk because you're getting the majority of the money in on time. And if there is somebody who is short, you have the other people there to capture that loss.
Well, Jared, it is interesting stuff, and to recapture some money when your kid goes to college in any way is a real benefit. And then if they have their house over there, maybe they won't come back and live with you once they graduate.
Give them a washer and dryer so they don't have to bring their laundry home all the time.
There you go, right there.
Right there.
That is probably worth the whole thing right there. Jared, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break. When we come back for the first time, Vera Brodsky is going to join us. We're going to discuss a little bit more about real estate. My name is Ben Brash, and you're listening to Brashenomics.